So we're just going to begin by coming into a comfortable seated posture. And I'm sitting on a bolster and sitting cross-legged. We want to be upright and not necessarily closing the front of the body, so not in kind of that slumpy position. But I also don't want you to be overly erect. Kind of what I think of as kind of military posturing, where you're trying to sit up really, really straight. So using the back of a chair to help you just have this upright, relaxed posture is fine. Or sitting cross-legged is really an ideal way to kind of just tension your lower back without having to put a lot of work into it. Once you're in your seated posture, just take your hands around the front of your belly here to begin with. And this may be one of the hardest things I ask you to do today, but I want you to just allow your belly to kind of soften and relax into your hands. So just letting that sense of opening the belly, softening, relaxing it. Feeling that softening in your fingertips, in your palms. And maybe your gaze is downward, or maybe your eyes close if that's really the most comfortable position for your vision to be in. Some people closing their eyes creates some kind of dizziness or tension, so don't feel like you have to close your eyes. But at the very least, soften your gaze outward and begin to gaze inward. As you gaze inward, notice if there is any tension across your neck or throat, your shoulders, in your back or belly, in your hips. And noticing that, know also that it's not necessary for you to try to let anything go. Okay? So that's that work of trying to do something, and we're really moving away from the doing and into simply being aware, being present. So if you notice any tension, just accept it. Come back to the belly. And if there's still tension there, begin to just invite your breath to drop down as you inhale into the abdomen. And maybe you feel it gently expand. And then exhale, it will gently retract. So you're starting to feel and notice this gentle movement in your belly. And that movement is similar not only to breath, but also your heartbeat is expanding and contracting. And so we start to maybe sense this regulation of our deep bodily functions simply through breath. Maybe you can feel your heartbeat. Sometimes as we relax and get into a quiet place, you might feel your belly kind of gurgle and digest. We'll take a few more breaths here, just really having that inward eye, that sense of what's happening inside. And then we're going to just play with some gentle vocal vibrations. Since your voice, your pharynx and larynx are deep in your throat, and remembering that there's a lot of branches that happen through the jaw, throat, neck, and chest, one way to begin to create some vibration or that kind of movement like we felt in our belly and maybe you felt in your heart is through modulating our tone. So what we'll do is we're going to take the sound of Om, but we'll kind of move from Om, Om, Om. So we'll be opening and closing our lips a little bit. We're going to work on just allowing our breath to deepen, and then we'll add that tone. So what you'll be doing is, again, just letting the belly soften and inhale. Feel it contract on the exhale. See if you can lengthen the exhale until you feel almost a firmness in your belly. And as you feel ready, we'll take that sound vibration. You can join with me. If you don't feel comfortable making the sound, just create a gentle humming, deepen your throat, whatever feels good to you. Om, 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 So we'll do it like that until the breath is completely gone. I'm taking a nice big inhale, and I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. Om, 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 What we're introducing to our bodies is the sense of self-regulation, of moving from action to passivity, and allowing our body to kind of find its own homeostasis, its own regulation. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of self-massage. And you can feel free to shift your position if you need to. We're going to start with just kind of moving around the face, from the brow into the temple, down into the jaw, and then eventually coming into the throat. So I just like to start with a couple of fingers, and I'm just going to begin kind of right around the center of my brow, and I'm just creating little circles, moving the skin. And as I come around my brow line, I'm coming into the temples, and I'm kind of moving around that space. Let your jaw start to go a little slack. And again, if there's any place that you have some tension, feel free to spend a little more time there. Coming in around the base of the ears. And we'll come down towards the earlobes. We start to get into the jawline here, into kind of that area around the masseter muscle. And if you don't know where that is, just for a moment, clench your teeth together with your fingers right by the base of your ear, and you'll feel it kind of jump out at you. And then relaxing your jaw, kind of massage into that masseter muscle. When we eat, the movement of our jaw stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. This is one way we upregulate or stimulate our vagus nerve, which relaxes us. Because we can't digest our food unless we're relaxed. So I'm just coming around kind of the base of my jaw now. You can kind of come under the jawline. Moment, come around your ears and just kind of pull and massage your ears. So thinking about all your senses and how you can kind of sharpen your vision, maybe you squint, you create some tension around your eyes, tension around your ears, trying to listen harder, right? So what we're doing is we're taking all of that active movement of our sensory organs, and we're just massaging and softening them. Now what I'm going to do next as I'm getting ready to move into the throat is I'm going to make a super soft fist. So I'm just bringing my fingers kind of to my base of my thumb, and I'm just creating this circular action. I'm kind of capturing some of the skin gently in my knuckles, and I'm just circling around. I'm starting at the sides of my neck, circling around. And you don't want this to feel uncomfortable at all, so you can regulate the amount of tension you put there. You see I'm just coming around towards the front of my throat. Continue to just massage in this area. And again, as you're massaging, it's not just about pushing in, it's actually pulling the skin. So our skin is key because it holds nerve endings. And I'm just kind of going up the front of my throat here. And then I'm going to come around and I'm going to again come to fingertips, and I'm going to massage kind of the edge of my skull here by that occipital joint. So I'm just coming around the back and just massaging that area. And then as I'm doing this, I'm slowly dropping my chin towards my chest. And what I'll have you do is just as you finish kind of massaging the back of your neck, let your arms rest and keep your chin dropped towards your chest, allowing your sense of softening to come through the back of the neck, again into that dorsal area, letting your shoulders drop, and take a few breaths there. So it's hard for us to massage the back of our bodies, right? That's where we go to get massage. But this front area, this ventral area of our bodies, we can absolutely access. And in fact, we tend to not get that from massage therapists, especially around the throat and the belly. So learning to do this yourself is a really important part of your self-care. Now from dropping your chin to your chest, we're going to take our head and tilt it to one side. When that happens, try not to let your chin come away from your chest. Keep it down and tilt. And then what we're going to do is take whichever side you're tilting away from. So I'm tilting away from my right side. I'm just going to bring my hand to my shoulder, and I'm just going to take some nice big shoulder rolls here. And change directions. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that shoulder down as low as I comfortably can. I'm going to turn, so it feels like I'm kind of stretching my armpit area. I'm turning here. And then I'm going to tuck my elbow into my ribs, kind of pressing it in, palm flat, and kind of hitchhiking my thumb back. So now I'm feeling this big stretch from the side of my neck into the top and front of my shoulder. And again, we're just going to take a couple of nice slow breaths here. I'm going to add that intonation, that om sound, as I take about 3 slow breaths. Om, As you're ready, you're going to come back to the center and just bring your head up for a moment and just notice how you feel between the two sides, through the face and jaw. If at the beginning of class you felt any tension there, notice if it feels different at all now. Once you've taken this moment, we'll drop our chin back towards our chest, pause there for a breath or two, and then come back to your head tilt, this time tilting it the second way. So again, keeping the chin a bit towards the chest. Sometimes when we tilt our head to the side, the chin comes way away. Bring it in, tilt, hand to shoulder, take some nice slow shoulder rolls. And then take it the other way. And then we're going to take that shoulder and just feel it move down. Tuck the elbow into your side. Begin to take a little stretch to the front of the shoulder. And again, here's that flat palm like you're holding something heavy in your hand. Hitchhike the thumb back. Shouldn't feel pain or strain here. It's just an opening sensation across the front of the chest. And again, I'm going to take a couple of those nice, slow, vocalized breaths. And I'm even, you'll watch me kind of adjust as I'm going, kind of feeling this space as it gets that vibrational energy and that, again, stimulates the relaxation. Mom, 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 mom. This time I'm even going to take my fingers and I'm going to jiggle just a little bit, and this is another way to deepen the stimulation through this area. Mom, 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 or you can tap mom, 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 mom. As you're ready, arm comes down, tip your chin back towards the chest, and then slowly bring the head back up. Notice how you feel. So for our next position of our body, we're going to lay prone. Now, if laying on the floor doesn't feel comfortable to you, what you can do is simply fold yourself over a bit of a bolster or some pillows. I'm going to lay flat, and we'll be doing some back of the body stimulation. So if you're seated in a chair, it will be a little bit difficult for you to do the leg action, but you can absolutely do the arm actions. So as I roll over onto my stomach, I'm going to lay on my bolster. And I want to allow my body to drape over the bolster. So I'm going to move probably so the bolster is a little bit just below my chest, but my whole abdomen is on it. And what we're going to do next is we're going to work on kind of finding this dorsal area, the back body area near the kidneys, right? So as I lay down, I want that space to be really soft and supported. Move that out of the way. I'm going to take these blankets and I'm going to put them under my forehead, but I'll be popping my head up. Now, you won't be popping your head up. You're going to be kind of letting your body relax, finding just the right position so that there's some space for you to breathe. Your shoulders slump, relax, and release. And because there's pressure into the abdomen, your breath's going to start to come into your back body, into this area around your ribs and kidneys, back of your heart. So just begin to notice that. And again, Allowing the exhale to be kind of long. You don't have to make the mom sound now, but just allowing a nice full inhale and a slow and lengthy exhale. And maybe you'll notice as you exhale, there's this feeling of the ribs along the back of your body contracting just a little bit. We're going to add a bit of movement with that exhale as things contract, and then we'll release it. So the first thing we're going to do is take your nice big inhale. As you exhale, begin to bring one arm up off the floor, extending that arm towards overhead. If you're in a seated position, you're slumped over, you're just bringing the arm alongside the ear. As you exhale, contract the back of your shoulder. Allow the breath to contract the back of your body through the ribs, back waistline. And then when you're ready to inhale, soften, relax, and let the inhale come in fully. We'll switch arms. So again, as you are ready to take your long, slow exhale, you're going to extend an arm, engage the back of the shoulder, let the exhale move slowly and completely through your back body. And after your long, slow exhale, relax and release it. We're going to switch back to our first arm. And again, you're finding your own pace here. Since I can't see any of you on the screen, I want you to just find your own pace, but we're going to add the leg. So again, if you're prone on the floor, you'll be able to add the leg. If you're sitting, you won't be able to. It's absolutely fine. Taking my inhale, as I'm ready, I'm going to exhale. I'm exhaling, lifting the arm, and I'm lifting the opposite leg. And I'm trying to stretch from heel to hand as I'm engaging the glutes. My breath engaging the mid-body, my arms helping engage the shoulder, nice long exhale all the way until you're empty, and then relax, soften, and inhale. You can take a couple of breaths between sides if that feels right for you. We're going to take it to the second side, so as you're ready, begin to exhale, lift arm, lift opposite leg, stretch diagonally across the body, exhale fully as you engage your hip and shoulder. Squeezing out the last little bit of that exhale, and when you're ready, inhale, soften. So we're going to take that back and forth again across each diagonal side with your breath as you feel ready. All the way to the end, and even a little hold of your exhale at the very end. Little pause if you have the capacity, just kind of squeeze, soften, breathe. As you're ready, exhale, engage. All the way to the end. And then relax. And just allow your breath to kind of come into your back body. Notice if it feels different, if it feels like there's maybe a little more room with that exhale breath. I'm sorry, with your inhale breath after that exhale work. Take a couple more, just relax, breaths in this position. And then we're going to come into a side stretch. And again, this is something that you can modify in a chair. I'm going to be demonstrating it from the floor. What we'll be doing is I'm going to turn my bolster sideways and I'm going to lay across it. Again, blankets work. Since we're not really using our yoga mat for movement for stickiness, you could use a rolled up yoga mat underneath your waistline. You can use blankets or blocks to support your head as you kind of get comfortable here. And if your shoulder allows it, maybe your arm comes up overhead. So again, this is just a restorative position. What I'd like you to do is just start by just allowing your breath to come into your upper ribs. Noticing that the breath kind of tends to go to where you feel the space. And if you're not comfortable having your arm up over your head, you can even take your hand kind of down here to the ribs so you can maybe tactily feel the movement of your ribs. And then with your support under your side body, I want you to try to breathe into those ribs. So you're pushing into the bolster, into, if you're sitting in a chair, maybe you're kind of leaning over onto the arm of the chair a little bit, putting a couple of blankets under your side body. So as I inhale, I'm going to feel this side of my chest expand, but I'm going to work on this lower side of my chest expanding and pushing into the bolster. Nice big inhale, and then that slow, long exhale. Until I feel my sides squeeze in. And then inhale. And again, remember you're trying to push that inhale into whatever is kind of touching your side that's contracted. And exhale slow. If you can hold your breath just for a moment at the end of the exhale. And another trick to even stimulate a little bit more into the neck is to almost, as you finish that exhale, almost act as if you're having a cough, just a little. And then that inhale, right? So it's not an actual cough, it's just that feeling like a silent cough at the end of your exhale. And we're going to take maybe one or two more on this side. And I'm pushing into the bolster even as I'm breathing on this side. This side's easier. I'm doing the harder work down here of actively contracting it. And then exhaling, and again, becoming a little bit more active on the exhale all the way to where I feel both side ribs knitting together. Little cough in the throat. And then the nice relaxed inhale on this side, a little active inhale on that side. As you're ready, we'll sit up. And take a couple of breaths. Notice how it feels. We're going to switch sides, and you can just roll away from me if you'd like to, because you don't need to see me. But I'm going to try not to roll away from you. So I will just simply shift my bolstering. And again, if you're sitting in a chair, maybe you've got a side of a chair, you can take a blanket or something, kind of squeeze it in. So maybe I'll do this side just like this so I can show you the side lying position sitting. Right, so again, this arm can be overhead or it can be touching the ribs. And I'm going to inhale, and I'll notice that my breath wants to go to where it's easy, to where it's spacious. This side compressed against my bolster and blanket, also compressed internally because this side body is contracting. I'm going to try to make it open during my inhale. Pushing into my bolstering and then exhaling completely. And then again, if you're able to, kind of bringing sensation back up to the throat. At the end of the exhale, that little feeling like you're trying to maybe suppress a cough or that you're trying to create one. And then inhale. And we'll take several more breaths here. This kind of yoga doesn't look like a lot, but there is so much going on in our bodies through this shifting of active to passive. And this is actually creating tone in our most basic functioning. And so if we don't have a balance and tone there, then, being able to do a vinyasa practice really isn't, it's not that there's anything wrong with it, but, yoga is really about coming inward, not working outward, but working as deeply inward as possible. So some of those hatha practices are good door openers, but this is where we're going in. This is where we're actually entering into the practice. Learning how to self-regulate. Let's take one more breath on this side. And then as you're ready, again, just slowly rolling up from the floor. Or sitting up from your chair. And I'm going to take my bolster next, and I'm going to create a little bit of a ramp so that I can lay down. So we worked kind of from the face and neck around to the shoulders and upper chest. Then we moved around to our back body with that movement and breathing over the bolster. Now we've come around to the side ribs, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come back into that belly space, into this ventral space. And when we're tense, when we're nervous, we tend to kind of grip that and not relax it. And we see this in animal behavior. If they're nervous around someone, they won't roll over and show their bellies, right? Because they know this is a vulnerable place. So we're going to get into Baddha Konasana, or reclined butterfly pose. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some self-massage around the belly. So I'm just creating kind of a nice little supported reclining position here with my bolster. Again, sitting back in a chair is fine. If you have a way to put your feet up a little bit, it's really excellent. And we're going to bring the knees out to the side. So if you need some support under your knees, if you're laying back, you can place some blankets or blocks or anything like that under the knees. What happens here is it really opens up the whole ventral part of our bodies. And take a few moments and just relax into the posture, right? So laying back and maybe allowing the arms to rest out to the sides. Noticing the breath. Again, breath always goes to what's easiest, what's most spacious. So this pose really opens up that belly, chest, and shoulder area. And just get comfortable and relaxed for a few moments. Let your breath find its own natural rhythm. We don't need to, do any of the holds or the coughs or anything like that. We're just seeing, can we allow ourselves to be comfortable in this vulnerable posture? The movement we're going to do is a self-massage movement, and it's called I Love You. And I want you to imagine that you're looking down at your belly, and so the letters are going to be kind of upside down, but if you're looking down, you'll be looking at them right side up. And we're going to make the shapes of those letters, the I, the L, and the U of I love you. What we're going to do is we're going to start on our left side, and we're going to make the letter I. And what you'll do, and just however you'd like to self-massage, whether it's stroking along the letter I, or kind of pressing fingers in a little bit and just kind of, I call it walking my fingers up and down. So this is the descending colon, right? And what we're doing is we're just getting some massage and some movement there. However it feels good, right? So up and down. If you want to get to your skin, it's kind of nice. And again, if we get to our skin, if we get down into our skin, we're pulling on that skin as we're moving up and down. And that can be particularly stimulating to the nerves that are enmeshed in our skin, enmeshed in that fascial connections. So just taking some nice breaths as you're massaging. This is just the letter I for right now. And again, you can find any kind of movement that feels good to you. Going from the kind of the base of your left ribs down into the kind of that bone of your ilia, the bone of your pelvis there, and just exploring that space. And again, as we get in here, as we massage and manipulate this area, you might find that things start to gurgle. And that's a good sign. That means that we're stimulating that rest and digest. Now we're going to do the L shape. So we'll be going from the right to the left across kind of the base of our ribs and down towards the left iliac crest. And so I'm going to just start with, again, just kind of these fingertip rolls. I'm getting under the ribs just a little bit. And as I'm doing this, now it's maybe useful to take those exhales and even those little fake coughs. And you'll feel your diaphragms getting a little more active, right? And then down along the I, making the letter L, right? And now I'm definitely going in one direction. I'm going from right to left across and then down to finish. And this is the general movement of our large intestine. But as we're going across this area, we're accessing our liver, our stomach, our spleen, right? We're getting into all of those subdiaphragmic organs that are all innervated by the vagus nerve. And I'm just taking a couple of times through, and again, as I'm going across here, I'm talking, but ideally I wouldn't be talking. Ideally I'd be exhaling slowly, feeling that muscular contraction, and maybe pausing. I'm going to place both fingers just under my ribs just a little bit and make that cough at the end of my exhale. And just kind of feel the diaphragmic movement. Finally, we'll end with the U shape. So we're going to come up from the right iliac crest, from the right hip bone here, up to the lower right ribs, across to the lower left ribs, and then down the left side. So this is the U shape. And again, I'm starting with I like these finger movements. This is what feels good to me. You might be doing more of a stroke. And again, maybe you're even working down into your skin if that feels right for you. So I love you. Great abdominal massage. And especially if you have a tendency to brace, to kind of hold your belly. And in our culture, that is almost considered something that's desirable, right? To have a six-pack abs, to have a lot of muscle tone in our abdomen is considered, you know, a bonus. Like that's a good thing. And it's maybe aesthetically pleasing, but it's actually not a good thing because we're staying in this hyper-sympathetic state. When these muscles are tense, that's signaling our body to be ready for fight or flight, right? Rather than rest and digest. A couple more just times across your U. And then we're gonna end with just our hands kind of maybe resting on our bellies, allowing those nice deep inhales into the belly. And just noticing what that feels like. If you've been reclined, and especially if you didn't have support under your knees, You want to be gentle with your inner thighs. And I always like to just take a moment and just kind of take my fingers, just kind of bring them along the inner thighs, waking the muscles up gently, and then bringing my hands to the outside of those thighs and helping the knees come together. Take a moment here. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to get ready for our final meditation. I'm going to be doing it in a seated posture, but you are welcome to find whatever posture feels best for you. So maybe you really enjoy being in bound angle. I know it's a great favorite of many people. If you'd like to come into Shavasana where you're laying just flat on your back, that's fine as well. We're going to end with a pranayama practice, and it's called Brahmari breath. Brahmari breath, the word Brahmari is sometimes it's translated as bumblebee breath. It's a vibrational breath. So as you're getting settled in, I'm going to shift my position so I'm back to seated. And we're going to come back to our face for a moment here. So we've worked through kind of all of the accessible points of the vagus nerve. And hopefully you can feel kind of that sense of connection to these actions around the face and the jaw, the throat, the chest, the back body, and the belly. We're coming back to the voice. And Brahmari breath is done with our hands actually kind of blocking so that they're quiet, our eyes, our ears, and our mouth, so that we're forced to breathe through our nose. So obviously, Brahmari breath isn't awesome if you have a stuffed nose. It's also sometimes hard if you're not comfortable with your eyes closed. So you can just allow the vibrational sound to be a part of your practice, or you can invite yourself to come into this this more. I think it's really a fun practice. And what happens, especially when you block your ears, is you feel the vibration more internally. And what I'd like you to do is to come back to our opening meditation where we found maybe where there was some kind of tension or holding, and you're going to direct the vibration into that space. Notice what it feels like, if it's been changed due to our practice. And if it hasn't, just simply allow the vibration to kind of travel there. Again, we're not trying to do anything. We're just inviting during this practice today. So the Brahmari sound is a buzzing sound. We've been doing kind of more of a mouth sound with our om, right? Kind of moving through the jaw. Now I want you to come to the back of your throat, all the way to the space, kind of really kind of between your ears, way back. And it's a drone sound. Notice there's no movement in my mouth. It's a sound from way back and down in my throat. So it's like a bee, like a drone, right? And practicing making that sound a few times. We're going to come back to those long, slow exhales with that drone sound. In your mind's eye, any of these areas that felt more sensitive, more tense, less willing to relax and release, in your mind's eye, you're bringing this vibration into that space. I'm going to do a couple of them with my eyes and ears and mouth closed off with the mudra of Brahmari. And then I'm going to just let that practice go. Eventually, I'll let the breath go, and we'll move into meditation. As we get into meditation, I'll let you remain in meditation for as long as you'd like. If you want to continue after the video ends, continue after the video ends with whatever of these practices felt delicious to you. So once we finish the meditation, I'll close the video. Remain if you'd like, find what you need, and drop into this place of rest, digest, and heal. Finding your breath as you get into your comfortable, relaxed position. Remember, the back is supported, so there's no tension across the back body, melting into your props. If you're seated, melt into your spine. Back of the head is heavy, face relaxed. See if you can drop into just breathing through your nose. Inhaling, maybe a little pause. Nice, long, slow exhale all the way to where you feel empty. Maybe a little pause. And begin just with that buzzing sound, that Brahmari drone at the back of the throat as you feel ready. Notice as you're buzzing, if you can feel the vibration moving into your chest, into your abdomen, into the deep center of your body. In yoga, the practice of creating vibration along this area is really about stimulating the nadis. This was their ancient understanding of the central nervous system and of these cranial nerves that help to regulate our action and our relaxation. Now, as you're buzzing, and if you feel comfortable, maybe you take your hands, your thumbs would plug your ears, your fingers would rest over your eyelids, and your ring fingers and pinky fingers would go gently across your lips. So it looks like this. And as you're experiencing that and you kind of closed off those external sensory organs, and maybe you can't even hear me anymore, you're listening inward, you're feeling inward, you're noticing the vibration occurring within your body. Take one or two more. And then as you're ready, let go of the practice. Let go of your arms, let them rest in a comfortable place alongside you, or maybe resting across your belly and chest. Come to a place of quiet and ease. Learning to connect to our bodies means that we learn to listen to them. Remembering that 80% of the communication from our vagus nerve comes from our body to our brain. So we can't think ourselves into this state of being. We have to feel ourselves this direction.
As we relax our bodies, the signal is coming to our brain to release those beautiful neurotransmitters that allow us to have the deeper chemical processes occur in our bodies. Healing happens. Not just the breaking down of food, but the actual absorption of food into our cells. The brain goes into that state of deep rest. We shift our consciousness into a place of non-consciousness. And in yoga, this is a desirable state because we learn that our bodies regulate themselves by knowing how to do so innately. And we begin to contemplate, where does this knowing come from? How do the bees know to make honey? How do the flowers know how to blossom and produce pollen? There is intelligence in our home, our oikos, our ecology, layers upon layers of knowing, interacting, creating life. This is the depth that yoga can take us to.